So, hello and peace be upon you. Welcome to another episode of the Happiness Revolution, where I talk about stuff that will change your life easily. And why is it so easy? Because most people think changing your life is really hard. To some extent it is, because it's the perseverance and repeating stuff that you need to keep doing. But the way wisdom works, and this is, of course, if this is the first video you're watching, not wisdom from me, this is age-old wisdom that I always mention that I'm offering. The way wisdom works is that it's so simple that you kind of go, wow, you know what I mean? I've made my life so complicated and the solution is really simple, and that's the nature of wisdom. And once we've relearnt that wisdom after having rejected it as a society, we'll make our lives better and cause a happiness revolution. Because by nature, if we followed our true nature and followed our true nature wants us to be good, by the way, then we will become happy. But then when we allow the selfish side of us, and we don't like to be selfish, you know, if I say you're selfish, you don't like it, right? So that's kind of not our true nature or our calling, as it were. When we follow that dark side, as it were, we just become miserable. But in the short term, we think it might make us happy, or there's this illusion that it'll make us happy. So that's the introduction. What am I going to talk about today? Well, I just watched a video by one of my heroes. Do you want to call it a hero? Russell Brand. I love his Truths videos, because I love it firstly because he's trying really hard. Doesn't matter if it's entirely correct or whatever. I love it because of that, and that's what we should do. We should like anything that's good, even if it's not perfect or whatever. If somebody's making an effort, that's beautiful in itself. So, and the video that I just watched was about how can we have a revolution. But it wasn't just about that. It was all about facts and figures, about how one or two people effectively are ruling thousands and thousands of people. Say 65 people own, like, I don't know, massive percentage of all the wealth in America or something. All these different numbers. We already know that there's insane inequality and there's widespread oppression. I suppose we already know that's not entirely true. We like to keep deluding ourselves that it's only us that are feeling a bit down under because of all the pressure of life, you know, because we don't really express ourselves to our friends or even our relatives or to our neighbours and all that kind of stuff. So we are and it's not by accident that we've been divided from each other like this. It's part of the way we are being ruled over. So basically, it's all not new, and what I'm trying to say is what I've said in previous videos. We're easily manipulated, and people want to know, how can we have a revolution? And I've given the answer before, but maybe I've packed it in with another talk. And it's worth repeating in slightly different ways. You know, sometimes I miss out certain things, and you can't explain everything in one go anyway. So how can we have this revolution? The simple answer, which people won't like, is that we've got to change. Because all this revolution talk is always pointing at other people, as though you know, there's few people up there, somehow they're controlling us. But the reason why they're able to control us is because we're easily controlled. We're easily controlled. And all this talk about how things should be, there are millions of us being controlled by a handful of people. How is that possible? Imagine 1 million people, and then in front of them there are a handful of people saying, you do this, you do that. Are we going to listen? Yeah? But that's how ridiculous the situation is. Okay, that's how the economy is completely controlled, and I suppose listening to the truths is very helpful because it makes you understand the situation we're in, but it doesn't necessarily give you a solution. So one of the things I heard in the truths, and I've heard many times before, the truths by Russell Brand, check it out on YouTube, his regular channel. Is that most of the wealth is in the hands of a few people, and the whole system is controlled by basically a banking cartel. Basically, these banks aren't this whole economic crisis is not by accident. It's manipulated economics, and they create money. They don't give it to the poor; they give it to the rich. Old news. I mean, you must be aware of it to some extent. So we need to change ourselves. Now, how can we change ourselves? Because it seems like, if I change myself, what about the next person and the next person? Well, that sort of attitude will never make a change, you know. And also you have to realize that what our position is in the world. We are like little grains of sand in a massive desert. We overestimate our true, our power and all this kind of stuff, and that sounds like a bit of a contradiction to what I'm saying. Like, we can change the world and all this kind of stuff. At the same time, I'm saying we're insignificant. But that is a very important point. The point is that the revolution is going to happen, but not us standing up and saying we're going to change it. Because even though we want to say, and we keep standing up and saying we're going to change it, nothing really happens. And the reason is that there's a true way to success, and there's our illusions of how we're going to reach success. And the simple point is that if we realize again that there is a God, that will unite us very quickly and give us the strength to do the right things. And God's way will direct us back to unity, to justice and things like that. Now you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to hear this God business, this is just like believing in stuff and it somehow will happen. Well, let's consider what's happening at the moment, and God's way is already happening. When we become selfish, become disunited, and it's part of nature, if you want to call it, instead of God's way, that we become alone and depressed, and the old people feel left alone, and all these different things that religion has always told us to take care of. When we leave them, we leave God's way, we just become kind of miserable and sad, and our health deteriorates, cancer and all these kind of things. We treat animals badly, we overeat, we do this and that, and all these immoral bits of behaviour that we let ourselves off and blame everybody else. Like, we blame McDonald's for feeding us too much meat. I mean, they're in business because we're eating their meat. What are you talking about? Stop blaming other people. So when we behave immorally, according to or against God's way, then the natural reaction is that bad stuff happens to us, and we're easily controlled and stuff like that. And if we follow God's way, we become happier individually, we understand things more clearer, we stop deluding ourselves. And as I said in a previous episode, that we have to argue in an aggressive way as if we already know the answers, and we don't like to listen, and we think this idea of adversarial debate is a good thing. But if we have adversarial debate, we're not really absorbing truth, and that is against a high moral way, God's way, as it were. And then we stay stupid, even though we think we're really clever. And that's what you find in these forum debates against atheists and stuff like that. They've already made conclusions, and if you make a point, they ignore the points you make and focus on one or two words. And so the picture I'm trying to create is that there is a solution, there is a way to unite humanity, that is God. And God is not just God. God doesn't need us. God creates a natural sort of system where if we behave badly and in a dumb way, all sorts of bad stuff happens to us. And if we behave nicely towards each other, we'll become really happy with very little money to begin with, and there's plenty of resource in the world. We're just destroying it at the moment. There's plenty of resources. We don't have to think of some complicated economic trickery or whatever. We just need to start being good people, and all the answers are out there. The revolution has already been designed by God, in terms of He sends spiritual leaders and says, listen, the spiritual leaders can look, I don't need any money, I'm just asking you just to be good, and we will unite and good stuff will happen. And just to end with this point that I'm making, unity can easily happen. You know, if we talk about if you want to see unity really quickly, you'll see if you go to the middle of the world, go to the middle of the map, and you'll see a place called Mecca, and there's millions of people coming together, doing millions of Muslims, I should say, believing in this one God and one people and one mankind idea. It can easily happen. Unfortunately, it's not entirely true what I've just said, that those millions of people who are coming together, they've left important elements of that unity that connects all humanity, and so they're kind of doing the ritualistic stuff, but they've left the spiritual stuff that connects all humanity, the important part of it. So hopefully that was useful. I'd like to actually end with something that if you understand or benefit from this, that's great, and please tell other people, subscribe to the video, because it kind of probably puts it up on the YouTube rankings and the Google rankings and all that kind of stuff, and press the like button. That's a small way of supporting it. Do whatever you can, do all the small things according to your own ability at the moment. Do that. Tell other people about it. Tell other people to watch this stuff. I don't really need people to watch this stuff. You should always do things without any personal gain. I'm not really gaining anything. Well, obviously if you do something good, you gain from it. Even I understand stuff by listening to my own videos, because I do believe God controls us more than we realise when we allow it. So do something about it. Subscribe, press the like button, tell your friends about these videos, and talk about these things. Thank you for watching.